Every night something ancient unfolds above the darkened waves. The moon rises, pale, patient and watchful, and the sea stirs in answer. Beneath the quiet hum of stars, the ocean begins to move, pulled by invisible hands. It isn't just water shifting, it's gravity itself, whispering through the planet's veins. The moon watches, and the sea responds. A slow, endless conversation between two bodies that will never touch, yet can never let go. Welcome to AstraFlow. Here, science drifts like starlight, and curiosity becomes calm. Tonight, let your thoughts slow down, your breathing find its rhythm, and your mind float through wonder. Before we begin, I'd love to know where you're listening from. Are you lying in bed under city lights, or watching the stars from somewhere quiet? Tell me in the comments. It's always peaceful to imagine the AstraFlow community scattered across the world, drifting together through the same sky. And if this calm journey brings you peace, you can gently support AstraFlow by liking this video or subscribing. It helps this little corner of the cosmos keep glowing. Now let's begin tonight's voyage into the quiet story of the hidden dance between the moon and the sea. If you could stand somewhere on a dark shore and listen deeply enough, you might hear it. A rhythm beneath the waves, too vast for the ear, too slow for the heart. It's not music, not exactly, more like a breath, drawn and released over hours. This is the moon's silent pulse, shaping every coastline on Earth, guiding the ebb and flow of the tides. Every drop of seawater feels that distant pull. Every beach is rewritten, grain by grain, in time with the sky. This story is not one of noise or spectacle. It's a story of patience, of gravity's soft persistence. The moon doesn't command the sea, it invites it to move. The sea doesn't resist, it yields, then returns, endlessly. Together they create a cycle older than life, older than land, a rhythm that has carried the planet for billions of years. As you settle in tonight, let yourself drift with that rhythm. The world you're in, your breath, your heartbeat, the turning of Earth itself, is part of the same slow motion. Every wave that rises and falls is a whisper from the cosmos saying, you too are part of this dance. What binds the sky and the sea? We see the moon's reflection tremble upon the water, a silver path reaching down through darkness, yet between them stretches hundreds of thousands of kilometers of silent emptiness. How can something so distant move entire oceans, lift millions of tons of water, shape the breathing of the Earth itself? It's a question as old as wonder. Before humans spoke of gravity or orbits, they felt this connection in their bones. Fishermen watched the tides rise and fall with the moon's face. Farmers planted by its phases. Poets wrote of longing, the moon yearning for the sea answering in waves. Science would later give this love story a name, gravitational attraction. But perhaps that name, though true, only grazes the surface of what it means. Imagine you're standing on a quiet beach. The moonlight paints the ripples at your feet, and the tide is creeping in. You can't see the force that moves it, only the evidence, sand shifting beneath your toes, shells rolling with each retreat. The moon does not touch the sea, and yet, somehow, it is felt in every drop. This invisible pull is one of the universe's simplest truths. All matter attracts all other matter. The larger the body, the stronger the pull. The closer the two, the deeper the connection. The Earth pulls the moon pulls the Earth, and because water flows more freely than rock, it responds most visibly, creating tides, the planet's slowest heartbeat. But still, the deeper question lingers, not of how it happens, but why it feels so alive. Why does this slow motion touch us so deeply, as if we too are somehow moved by it? Perhaps it's because we are. The moon and the sea remind us that even distance can hold intimacy, that silence can carry meaning, and that motion can exist even in stillness. So tonight, as you listen and drift, hold that question gently in your thoughts. What unseen forces shape the tides within you? What distant lights guide the movement of your own calm? We'll soon explore how this cosmic choreography unfolds, the science, the rhythm, and the quiet poetry hidden within the moon's eternal pull. The moon's pull upon the sea is not chaos, but choreography, an elegant dance scripted by the physics of gravity. Every night and day, water on Earth rises and falls in slow, predictable waves, tracing invisible steps written in the language of the cosmos. The moon orbits our planet once every 27.3 days, but the tides it stirs shift roughly every 12 hours. That's because Earth too is spinning, turning beneath the moon's steady gaze. As it spins, the side facing the moon feels its gentle tug most strongly. Water gathers there, forming what we call the tidal bulge. But there's another bulge on the far side too, created not by the moon's pull but by inertia, as the ocean resists being dragged entirely toward the sky. Together, these two humps of ocean water circle the planet endlessly, following the rhythm of rotation and orbit. When the moon hovers high above the sea, it draws the water upward, creating high tide. 6 hours later, as it moves away, the water slides back, becoming low tide. This motion never stops. Even when you stand on a still shore, the ocean is in constant migration, responding to forces too vast to see. It is the Earth's slowest breath. Inhale, exhale. Every 6 hours, everywhere at once. But this is only the beginning. The sun, too, joins this celestial choreography. Though its gravitational pull is far stronger than the moon's, its immense distance weakens its influence on our tides. Yet, when the sun and moon align, during full and new moons, their pulls merge. The ocean's rise becomes dramatic, stretching higher into the sky and retreating further into the deep. These are spring tides, moments when the dance grows bold. 2 weeks later, when the sun and moon form right angles in the sky, their pulls compete instead of combine. The result, neap tides, gentler, quieter, like a slow whisper between movements. Every coastline on Earth dances to this rhythm, some with delicate steps, others with thunderous waves. From the calm bays of Japan to the roaring coves of Nova Scotia, each shore tells its own version of the same story, the sky and the sea entwined. Think of it this way. The moon does not command, nor does the sea obey. They move together in harmony, each shaping the other. The ocean's tides slow the Earth's spin just slightly. The moon in turn drifts farther away each year, a few centimetres at most, as if stepping back in a dance, still holding Earth's hand, but giving it space. In this choreography, there is both intimacy and independence, a lesson in balance written across billions of years. Tonight, as your breath finds its rhythm, let it mirror that same cosmic motion. Inhale as the tide rises, exhale as it falls, and know that even as you rest, you're part of this dance, ancient, unbroken, endlessly flowing. Every tide begins with a whisper of gravity, a quiet persuasion, not a command. The moon's invisible hand extends across space, and the oceans feel its pull. It is not strength that moves them, but constancy, a steady, delicate grip that never lets go. Imagine the Earth as a dancer turning beneath a patient partner. The moon's gravity pulls on the oceans, drawing water toward it, forming a great swelling of the sea directly beneath its position in the sky. It's subtle, vast, and perfectly timed. If you could see the oceans from space, you'd notice this bulge slowly sliding around the globe, following the moon's endless path. But the Earth spins faster than the moon orbits, one full rotation every 24 hours, compared to the moon's slower 27-day circuit. So the tidal bulge doesn't stay perfectly aligned. It's pulled slightly ahead, just eastward of the moon's position, That tiny offset, just a fraction of a degree, changes everything. It's what makes our tides come and go twice a day, and it's what gradually transfers energy from Earth's spin into the Moon's orbit. This gentle grip shapes both worlds. It slows our planet's rotation ever so slightly, just a couple of milliseconds each century. And it pushes the Moon a little farther away, roughly 3.8 centimeters per year. The two are locked together in an eternal exchange, a cosmic waltz of energy, distance, and devotion. Standing on a moonlit shore, none of this is visible. All you feel is the hush of waves, the slow pulse of water arriving and retreating. Yet each movement at your feet is a response to that distant pull, a reminder that even the smallest wave is part of a grand celestial rhythm. The ocean never argues with the Moon. It doesn't resist or break free. It simply yields, then returns, a quiet obedience born not from weakness, but from trust. The sea knows the Moon will rise again tomorrow. The Moon knows the sea will follow. And so, the grip remains, gentle, unwavering. A reminder that power can be silent, that influence can be graceful, that connection does not require touch. As you breathe in this thought, feel the Moon's pull within yourself. The gravity that moves oceans also brushes against you, a faint tug that no one escapes, a bond between body and cosmos. You're not apart from this dance. You are within it, swaying gently, held by the same unseen hand. If the Moon's pull is a whisper, then Earth's response is a sigh, patient, resistant, and beautifully complex. The planet does not surrender to the Moon's invitation without thought. It spins beneath that pull, holding its ground, shaping the dance into something balanced, something eternal. As the Moon tugs on the oceans, Earth's rotation tries to carry them along, dragging the bulging tide a little ahead of the Moon's direct line. This small defiance, only a few degrees, changes everything. It creates a kind of tension, like the gentle stretch between two partners keeping rhythm in a slow waltz. The ocean wants to follow the Moon, but Earth's spin keeps leading just slightly faster. And in that difference, the magic of the tides unfolds. The friction of water moving across the seafloor turns this slow dance into energy. Some of it becomes heat, dispersed invisibly into the planet's body. Some becomes motion, gently pushing the Moon farther away over time. The exchange is constant, quiet, and deeply patient, a balance between giving and holding back. This interplay also shapes the pattern of the tides we see today. While the Moon pulls two great bulges of ocean around the planet, the continents stand like obstacles in the flow, redirecting the water, slowing it, guiding it through narrow passages and wide bays. The result is an intricate choreography unique to every shore. Some beaches see 2 high tides a day, some only 1. Some coasts feel dramatic surges, others merely soft breaths. Yet all of them, together, are Earth's way of answering the Moon's steady question. Will you move with me? If you were to stand by the sea as the tide recedes, you could feel this subtle resistance in the sand beneath your feet. The faint suction as the water pulls back, the small hesitation before the next wave comes in. It's as if the Earth itself is breathing, inhaling and exhaling in sync with the heavens. Over billions of years, this push and pull has slowed the Earth's spin. Long ago, a single day lasted barely 6 hours. Now, it stretches to 24, a gift of time given by the Moon's persistence and the Earth's patience. In return, the Moon drifts farther away, centimetre by centimetre, keeping their connection alive across a growing distance. And so, night after night, the two continue this slow conversation, one reaching out, the other replying in motion. It's a balance of love and resistance, of motion and stillness, of freedom and gravity. Neither wins, neither yields completely. There's a kind of peace in that, a reminder that harmony doesn't come from perfect agreement, but from gentle tension. The same balance that moves oceans holds the rhythm of life itself. As you breathe now, imagine that slow turning, the Earth's spin, the moon's pull, the sea's surrender. You are part of that same resistance, the same grace, a living echo of the dance that keeps the planet turning, and the tides forever returning home. The moon may lead the dance, but it is not the only partner. Far away, the sun watches from its vast throne of fire, and even across 93 million miles its gravity reaches us. It too pulls at the oceans, softly, steadily, adding its own rhythm to the Earth's slow symphony. When the moon and the sun move in harmony, their forces align. The two pulls combine, amplifying the ocean's rise and fall. These are spring tides, though they have nothing to do with the season. The name comes from the old sense of the word spring, meaning to leap forth, for during these times the tides stretch higher and lower than usual. Shores are cleansed, rivers breathe outward, and coastal worlds stir with renewed motion. 2 weeks later the pattern shifts. The moon drifts to the side, forming a right angle with the sun's pull. Their gravities no longer combine but compete, one lifting where the other presses down. The result is gentler motion, neap tides, when the sea moves more modestly, a quieter pulse between the grander waves. This eternal alternation between cooperation and contrast shapes every coastline, every harbour, every rhythm of life that depends on the sea. It is a duet of light and darkness, heat and distance, time and patience. Even the creatures of the deep have learned this pattern, their lives synchronized with the cycles above. Crabs move with the fortnightly rhythm, coral reefs glow in synchrony with the full moon, and above all of it, the sun continues to shine, indifferent yet essential. Its heat stirs the air, forming winds and currents. Its light fuels the photosynthesis that fills the seas with life. Without the sun, the moon's dance would still happen, but the stage would be cold and silent. With the sun, the performance becomes luminous. If you close your eyes now, imagine the earth floating in the dark, one half illuminated by sunlight, the other bathed in moonlight. The oceans shimmer, swaying between their two distant masters, never ceasing, never colliding. You can almost hear the rhythm, a deep, slow beat that keeps the planet's time. And perhaps there is something human in this interplay. The moon and the sun, one gentle and cool, the other fierce and bright, mirror the duality within us. Calm and energy, rest and action, silence and fire. We are balanced between them, moving in our own tides of emotion, work and peace. Every breath you take echoes that balance. Every moment of stillness prepares for motion again. The sun and the moon do not compete. They coexist, weaving the world's most ancient pattern. Not of dominance, but of cooperation. The sea listens to both, and so do we. If you could rise above the earth, far beyond clouds, beyond the quiet shimmer of the atmosphere, and look down at the blue planet below, you would see something astonishing. The oceans are never still. They breathe, slowly, steadily, endlessly. Tides sweeping across continents, surging through straits, curling around islands like liquid time itself. At any given moment, somewhere a tide is rising, somewhere else it is falling. The oceans are performing a global exhale and inhale, one side of the planet swelling under the moon's pull, while the opposite side retreats. Then, hours later, they trade places. Every coastline, every bay, every harbour joins this choreography of water and gravity, an unbroken rhythm that has played since the first seas were born. From above, it would look like the entire Earth is alive, its blue skin moving with the pulse of the sky. The Pacific, vast and slow, rolls like the breath of a sleeping giant. The Atlantic, narrower and more restless, moves with sharper contrasts, its tides racing through narrow channels like heartbeat pulses. The Indian Ocean flows with deep grace, swaying in long arcs guided by both moonlight and monsoon, and yet, for all this motion, there is perfect calm. The rhythm never misses a step, never falters. Each tide rises to the exact point it must, then retreats, leaving behind patterns written in sand, faint curves, ripples, glimmers, a signature of the universe left upon the shore. Even the smallest creatures move to this rhythm. Tiny crabs scuttle in the moments between tides, knowing by instinct when the water will return. Sea turtles time their nesting to the moon's quiet cues. Coastal trees, half rooted in salt, half in air, sway gently in tune with the same unseen beat. We humans, too, are part of this world in motion, though we often forget. We build harbours, mark time, set our clocks, but beneath all that, our bodies still remember. Our hearts, our breaths, even the rhythms of sleep all echo the same alternation between fullness and release. To watch the ocean is to witness the Earth's most ancient meditation, movement without rush, repetition without boredom. It is the planet's heartbeat, visible at last. If you sit by the shore long enough, you might notice that time seems to slow. Each wave takes its turn, unhurried. The sea teaches you to let go of urgency, to remember that all things move when they must, and rest when they can. The earth, the moon, the sun, all of them continue this motion endlessly. And we, small and temporary as we are carried within it, breathing to the same invisible rhythm. The world never stands still. It flows, and we flow with it. Long before clocks began to tick or calendars mark the days, it was the sea that kept time for the earth. Each rising tide, each slow retreat was a measure of rhythm, not counted in hours or minutes, but in breath and return. The moon would lift the oceans, hold them for a while, then let them fall again. That cycle, steady, ancient, exact, became the first heartbeat of time on our planet. Ancient civilizations understood this long before they could name it. Along the coasts of Egypt, Greece and Polynesia, people noticed that the tides followed the moon. Fishermen waited for certain phases to cast their nets. Sailors charted the waters by lunar light. Farmers planted their crops in harmony with the waxing and waning glow, believing the moon carried the same rhythm into the soil that it did into the sea. In a sense, they were right. The moon's pull shapes more than just the tides. It shapes time itself. Our 24-hour day is the echo of Earth's rotation, but our months are the moon's gift, each one a full cycle of her luminous rise and fall. Even the word month comes from moon. And in older calendars, Chinese, Islamic, Mayan, the moon was the true keeper of the world's rhythm, guiding not only the waters but the lives of those who depended on them. Imagine a world without this pattern. No tides, no phases, no shifting light to mark the passage of night into morning. It would feel endless, stagnant, timeless. The moon brings movement to stillness, marking beginnings and endings through reflection. When the tide rises, it's a promise. When it recedes, it's a memory. Between the two lies everything that breathes. And if you think of it, our own bodies keep a similar rhythm. The heart beats, the lungs fill and empty. Even our sleep follows cycles. Deep, light, deep again. A pattern as old as the ocean itself. Perhaps this is why the sound of waves lulls us to rest. It mirrors the oldest rhythm we know. Each tide is a page turned in the planet's story. Every rise is a renewal, every retreat a reminder that nothing ever truly ends. It only transforms and returns again. As you breathe in, imagine the tide drawing close, washing the sand, carrying starlight into every ripple. As you breathe out, feel it recede, peaceful and complete. Time, like the sea, is not something we keep. It is something we move through, softly, rhythmically, endlessly. The moon counts the moments, and the ocean listens. There is a quiet precision hidden beneath the sea's softness, a celestial clock that never stops ticking. Every rise, every fall, every whisper of foam against the shore follows a pattern, written not in gears or numbers, but in gravity and light. This is the tidal clockwork of the earth, turning not by hand or engine, but by the eternal motion of the moon and sun. To most eyes, the sea seems wild and unpredictable. Yet, for those who study it, there is perfect order. Astronomers and oceanographers can predict the heightened timing of tides centuries into the future, to the very minute, to the very wave. They know when the waters will reach their peak, when they'll retreat, when they'll rest. They calculate it all from the moon's orbit, the sun's angle, and the shape of the ocean floor. The ocean, it turns out, is an obedient mathematician. And yet, there's still something poetic in that precision. Each high tide is not just a number, it's the Earth's pulse made visible, the rhythm of water rising to the call of the sky, over and over, perfectly in time, perfectly at peace. If you stand on a quiet pier and watch the waterline climb slowly against the posts, you're watching time itself unfold, slow, steady, without hurry. The tide is not racing to arrive. It knows it will get there, exactly when it should. Throughout history, humans have built their lives around this clock. Fishermen trust it to tell them when the currents will be kind. Sailors depend on it to guide ships through harbours and shallow coasts. Ancient builders carved tidal marks into stone, tracking the moon's influence as carefully as we now track seconds. In some ways, our modern clocks, with their pendulums, gears and swing, are descendants of that first lunar rhythm translated into metal and motion. But the sea's clock keeps more than just hours. It keeps memory. Every tide carries traces of the last. Sand shifted, shells moved, stones smoothed. Each movement leaves a faint echo of what came before, blending the present and past into one continuous flow. It's a reminder that time, like the tide, doesn't truly vanish, it just changes form. If you close your eyes now, you might hear the sound of that invisible mechanism, the slow tick of waves against the shore, the faint hum of earth turning beneath the moon's pull. It's quieter than a heartbeat, but it's always there, marking the passage of existence in liquid seconds. And somewhere, deep beneath the calm, the oceans are keeping perfect time, guided by an ancient rhythm that predates all clocks, all calendars, all human knowing. The universe moves in patterns we can measure, but also in beauty we can only feel. The moon and sea remind us that order does not have to be rigid. It can flow, it can breathe, it can sing. As you rest tonight, let that clockwork comfort you. The world moves exactly as it must. Every moment has its tide. Every breath has its rhythm. And all of it, together, keeps time with the quiet heart of the cosmos. Beneath the glitter of moonlight on the surface, the ocean hums with life, delicate, rhythmic, and unseen. The tides that rise and fall above shape not just water, but the secret cycles of the creatures that live within it. Every wave is a signal, every current a message. The moon speaks through motion, and the ocean listens. In coral reefs, tiny polyps wait for a precise moment each month. When the full moon shines its silver light into the water, they release their eggs and sperm in perfect unison, turning the sea into a shimmering cloud of new beginnings. It happens within minutes, across miles of reef, a synchronized dance guided not by sound or sight, but by the moon's invisible whisper. Scientists call it lunar spawning, but the name barely captures its grace. It is life moving to the rhythm of the cosmos. Farther out, plankton drift upward and downward with each lunar phase, following the faint glow that filters through the surface. Their movements form what may be the largest migration on Earth, billions of creatures rising and sinking in silent waves, feeding, hiding, breathing, in time with gravity itself. Even the tides carry whispers of life. Crabs crawl from burrows at low tide to feed on what the retreating water leaves behind. Fish follow the moon's pull to reach shallow waters for spawning. Sea turtles, sensing the same lunar rhythm, return to the exact beaches where they were born, laying their eggs under the full moon's quiet gaze. It's as if the moonlight carries memory, a language older than sound, written in silver across every surface of the sea. And though we often think of the ocean as vast and indifferent, it is in truth responsive, alive with timing, breath and sensitivity. The smallest creatures can feel changes in pressure, the faintest shift in light, the softest tug of tide. They respond in harmony, their lives shaped by cycles beyond their knowing. If you've ever walked a shoreline at night and heard the soft hiss of the waves, that sound you hear, that hush and return, is more than water. It's communication. It's the voice of an entire world breathing in rhythm with the moon. The sea, in all its power, does not roar in defiance of the sky. It whispers back, endlessly patient, endlessly aware. Its waves murmur across sand and shell, saying, "I remember you. I feel you. I move with you." And perhaps that is what makes this connection so beautiful, that even in the dark, even across vast emptiness, two distant worlds find a way to speak. So as you lie here now, imagine the water beneath the moon, shimmering, alive, pulsing with quiet life. Feel that rhythm within yourself, your heartbeat, your breath, your gentle awareness, all rising and falling perfectly in time with the whisper beneath the waves. If the moon and the sea share a rhythm, then the shoreline is where their song is heard. Every beach, every grain of sand, every rock polished smooth by centuries of touch, all of it vibrates with a kind of quiet music. You've heard it before, though perhaps without noticing, that long sigh as a wave breaks and retreats, the faint fizz of bubbles dissolving, the hush that lingers between each breath of the tide. The shoreline is the world's slowest instrument. Played by the moon, conducted by gravity, its notes are waves, each one unique, each one fleeting. When a wave curls and collapses, it doesn't simply fall, it sings. The pitch of that sound depends on countless things. The shape of the sand, the size of the stones, the depth of the water, even the wind's direction. Together they compose an endless, evolving melody, one that no human hand could ever write twice the same way. Walk along any coast at night, and you'll hear it change. On calm evenings it's a lullaby, long, low sighs that carry you inward. On wilder nights it becomes a slow drum beat. The sound of energy moving through water, grounding the planet in rhythm, and always, behind it, the steady pulse of the moon, keeping time. It is said that the ancient Greeks believed the sea made music for the gods, a harmony too vast for mortals to hear in full. Perhaps they were right. When you listen deeply, you can almost sense it, a faint hum beneath the crashing foam, a vibration that seems to live both in the air and in your bones. Scientists call it ocean microseisms, vibrations that travel through the earth itself, caused by the collision of waves across oceans. What we hear as gentle surf is, in truth, part of a planetary symphony. Every note reshapes the shore. Waves carry sand from one place to another, writing and erasing coastlines as if sketching, with a brush made of water. Cliffs crumble, shells are polished. Beaches vanish and are born again. The song is not only beautiful, it's transformative. And if you listen long enough, you begin to feel that transformation within yourself. The steady repetition of waves does something to the human mind, slows it, soothes it, aligns it. The brain begins to synchronize with the rhythm of the surf, lowering its frequency, inviting calm, deep rest, and eventually sleep. Perhaps that is why the ocean has always drawn us to its edge, because it reminds us, on some quiet level, how to let go. So tonight, imagine standing barefoot where land meets water. Feel the cool spray on your skin, the pull of the receding tide tugging gently at your feet. Each wave that approaches is a breath in, each retreat is the breath out. The earth is singing, and you are part of the song. The sea never stops playing. Even when we turn away, its music continues, patient, eternal, waiting for us to listen again. When moonlight falls on the sea, it doesn't stop at the surface. It travels downward, scattering and softening, slipping through the water in ribbons of silver and blue. Even in the stillest night, those faint beams continue their descent, brushing coral, glimmering over drifting sand, shimmering across the backs of silent creatures that live where sunlight never reaches. The ocean is vast beyond imagining, but the moonlight finds its way. In the upper layers, the realm of waves and foam, it glows bright and clear, painting the moving surface like liquid glass. Deeper down, it turns softer, pale as memory, until finally it fades to nothing, swallowed by the velvet dark. And yet, even there, the deep still feels its presence, not as light, but as movement, as gravity's breath. Currents respond to the moon's pull even thousands of meters below. They shift and sway, carrying warmth, oxygen, and life from one part of the ocean to another. Scientists call these internal tides hidden waves that move beneath the surface, silent giants that travel thousands of miles, unseen but essential. They mix the waters of the deep, balancing the planet's heat and chemistry. Without them, the ocean would stagnate, and life itself would falter. Imagine those deep waves rolling slowly through blackness, invisible hills of water rising and falling across the ocean floor. No roar, no splash, just the immense grace of motion too large for sight. It is the same rhythm we see in the tides above, but stretched, slowed, deepened, a secret echo of the moon's hand reaching through every layer of the sea. Sometimes a passing creature glows in response. Tiny plankton shimmer as they're carried upward, painting the water with pinpricks of living light. Jellyfish pulse softly, their translucent bodies catching the faint glimmer of the moon, becoming miniature reflections of the sky itself. Even the deep-sea fish, hidden in their eternal dusk, move to the lunar rhythm, feeding and mating by invisible cues they've followed for millions of years. If you close your eyes, you can almost see it, the earth turning, the moon gliding overhead, the light cascading down like a waterfall of silver through endless blue. It is quiet there, but never empty. Every droplet, every motion, every shimmer of phosphorescence participates in the same conversation. The sky calling, the sea replying. We often think of the moon as distant, unreachable. But the truth is, it touches our world constantly, not just through gravity, but through light. Its glow travels across space, enters the sea, and becomes part of the deep. Even in darkness, the ocean remembers the moon. Even when no light remains, the rhythm continues. And perhaps that is what peace truly is, to feel light even when unseen, to move gently even in stillness, to drift in quiet harmony with what cannot be touched. The moonlight on the deep is a promise that even in the darkest depths there is still connection, still motion, still flow. Every night when the moon rises and finds the sea waiting below, something simple yet extraordinary happens. The two become reflections of one another. The surface of the ocean turns to glass, and the moon leans closer, her face trembling in the water's shimmer. For a moment, it's hard to tell which is sky and which is sea, both luminous, both infinite, both caught in the same breath of silence. The ocean is the moon's oldest mirror. Long before humanity ever looked upward to wonder, the waves were already reflecting her light. Every ripple carries a fragment of her glow. Every crest bends her image, scattering it into 1,000 pieces that dance and reform with each passing second. The moonlight doesn't just rest on the sea, it moves with it, a companion to every wave. From a distance it looks peaceful, but up close it is alive. The shimmer of silver across black water, bending and stretching like a living thing. That reflection changes with each tide, each gust of wind, each cloud that crosses the night. Yet, no matter how it's broken, it always finds its way back. The light returns again and again, reshaped, but never lost. There's something deeply human in that. We too hold reflections of things greater than ourselves, of memories, of feelings, of love, of longing. Sometimes those reflections are clear and still, other times they're rippled, distorted by the waves of our days. But like the sea, we always catch the light again. No matter how scattered it becomes, it finds its way back to us. The moon doesn't mind her reflection being imperfect. In fact, she expects it. She knows that even a broken mirror still shines, and so she keeps shining, casting her glow without demand, trusting the sea to catch whatever it can. In ancient Japan, poets spoke of tsukimi, moon viewing nights when people would gather to watch the reflection of the moon in ponds or cups of tea. They believed that to see the moon's image shimmer on water was to glimpse something divine, the union of heaven and earth in one fleeting instant. The same light that travelled from the moon, through the sky, into the sea, into the eyes, and finally into the heart. It's easy to forget in the noise of day that this quiet exchange still happens each night, that the world continues to mirror the sky, that the sea still remembers to look up. So as you drift tonight, imagine yourself as that surface, still, open, reflecting. Let your thoughts ripple softly, but don't hold them. Let them come and go like light on water. Whatever you carry, whatever has changed shape, let it shimmer once more and pass through, because like the moon and the sea, you are part of a cycle, light given, light received, endlessly renewed. The moon gazes down, the ocean looks up. Between them, a mirror made of motion where the universe learns to see itself. If the moon and the sea could speak, their words would be made of pull and surrender. Gravity would be their language, patience their tone. What we see as a tide is not just physics. It's a slow, eternal love story written across the face of the earth. The moon reaches for the sea, and the sea answers. Not immediately, not perfectly, but always faithfully. Each wave that rises toward the sky is a response, a gesture of devotion in motion. The pull is constant, invisible, irresistible, and yet there is no forcefulness in it. It is not domination, but attraction, the kind that asks nothing, takes nothing, only moves in harmony. This love story began over 4 billion years ago, when a young Earth collided with a smaller world. From that impact, debris rose into orbit and gathered into the moon, a piece of Earth's own body, now circling at a respectful distance. Ever since, they have been bound by gravity's thread, each shaping the other's destiny. The moon gives the Earth tides, stability, rhythm. The Earth gives the moon its orbit, its motion, its constant place in the sky. They exist because they move together. But even love changes with time. The tides that the moon raises upon the earth also push back against her pull. The friction of water and land steals a fraction of Earth's energy, passing it gently to the moon, and so she drifts away about 4 centimeters farther every year. Slowly, softly, their dance floor widens, yet the connection remains, unbroken. Distance grows, but gravity never lets go. There is something achingly beautiful in that. The idea that separation does not mean disconnection, that even as they move apart they are still bound by an invisible bond, the same one that began when both were born. It is a relationship measured not in words but in motion. Every tide that touches the shore is a reminder of this love, a rhythm that began before life existed, before memory, before even sound. Each high tide is the moon's whisper, I am here. Each low tide is the earth's reply, I remember. And though the moon will continue to drift for billions of years, the bond will endure. Even at twice her current distance, she will still raise tides, still light the night, still guide the turning of the planet's water. Some loves are like that, quiet, persistent, untouched by time. They don't fade, they stretch, gracefully, across distance. They flow like gravity, unseen, but always felt. Tonight, as you listen to the slow pulse of your own heartbeat, imagine it echoing this cosmic exchange, the gentle give and take that keeps the universe in motion. There's a reason the sound of the waves feels so familiar. Deep down in the salt of your blood and the water of your cells, you carry that same pull. You are, in part, the sea that once rose to meet the moon. You are, in part, the earth that never stopped reaching back. Gravity is not just a force, it is the oldest form of love, a promise that no matter how far we drift, we are still connected, still moving together, in silence, in patience, in flow. Beneath the moonlit waves, beyond the rhythmic rise and fall of the tides, a quieter choreography unfolds, a network of hidden currents that encircle the planet like veins of motion. They do not roar or crash, they drift, they swirl, they mix the seas in silence, carrying the moon's influence deep into the heart of the ocean. These currents are the unseen architects of life. Each time the tide moves, it stirs the water ever so slightly, enough to blend the surface with the depths, the warm with the cold, the rich with the barren. In this slow alchemy, oxygen is carried downward, nutrients upward, and the ocean renews itself. What looks calm from above is, in truth, a constant act of restoration. The moon's pull helps power this invisible circulation. Where coastlines curve and shelves slope, tidal forces create currents that surge through narrow channels, mixing the sea like breath through lungs. Scientists have found that this tidal mixing shapes entire ecosystems, nurturing coral reefs, balancing the chemistry of the deep, and even softening the planet's climate. Without it, much of the ocean would grow still and lifeless. Picture it. Vast rivers of water moving in darkness, not guided by wind or sun, but by gravity. They cross mountains hidden beneath the sea, climb over ridges and flow through trenches deeper than Everest is tall. These internal tides can rise hundreds of meters high, though they never break the surface. They move energy across oceans quietly, gently, endlessly. It's humbling to think that what seems invisible is what sustains life. A hidden pulse beneath every wave, a heartbeat too vast to feel directly, and yet we depend on it completely. In this way, the moon is not only the ocean's partner, but its caretaker. Her pull keeps the seas alive, circulating, breathing. It is an act of quiet maintenance that has gone on for billions of years. The moon never tires, and the sea never stops responding. Every gust of wind, every droplet of rain, every spark of life in the water owes something to those hidden tides. The same pull that guides the oceans helps shape our world's climate, softening extremes, turning heat into balance. It's all connected, from the whisper of a wave to the rhythm of global weather. If you close your eyes, you can imagine those deep currents passing beneath you, silent highways of water, glowing faintly in moonlight that never reaches them. They move through darkness like thought itself, unseen but always there. And perhaps within us there are hidden currents too, quiet movements of feeling, memory and breath that keep us whole. We may not always notice them, but they sustain us, balancing the surface storms with something steady below. The moon, the sea, and you, all kept alive by the same unseen motion, the same quiet flow that gives without asking. Because the truth of life, like the tide, often happens beneath what's visible, in the silence between waves, in the spaces between breaths, in the hidden currents that never stop moving. If the oceans are the lungs of the earth, then the tides are its breathing. Each rise and fall, each gentle surge of water along the shore is part of a planetary rhythm that has never ceased. A slow inhalation, a vast exhalation, repeated for billions of years. The moon may set the tempo, but the earth provides the body, and together they sustain the pulse of life. When the tide comes in, it brings oxygen-rich water to coastlines and coral reefs, replenishing every living thing that depends on the sea. When it recedes, it carries away waste, clearing space for renewal. This motion, so simple, so ceaseless, is what keeps the coastal world alive. The same pattern echoes across the globe in ways we can't always see. When warm water from the tropics flows toward the poles and cold currents drift back, the planet's temperature evens out. Tides help stir this grand circulation, linking every ocean basin into one continuous breath. Through that slow exchange, carbon is drawn down, nutrients are lifted up, and the delicate balance that allows life to thrive is maintained. You can think of the Earth itself as breathing, not in seconds, but in tides, seasons, and ages. The oceans inhale with each high tide, drawing life inward. They exhale with each ebb, releasing energy back into the air. The atmosphere responds in kind, sending winds and rain, sculpting the landscapes that cradle the seas. Everything flows together in one long rhythmic conversation between elements. Sometimes, late at night, when you stand by the shore and the water glides quietly around your feet, you can almost hear it, that deep planetary breath. The rush of water forward is the inhale, the soft retreat is the exhale. The sound repeats until it becomes indistinguishable from your own breathing. In that moment, the boundary between body and world disappears. You're simply part of the rhythm, part of the exchange. It's no wonder the sea brings calm. The human body, made mostly of water, recognizes this motion. Our hearts slow, our minds settle, our breath unconsciously syncs with the tide. The ocean's rhythm becomes our own, as if some ancient memory within us still remembers that we were born from it. Even far from any shore, this pulse continues. The moon still pulls on the fluids in our veins, the earth still breathes beneath our feet. Each breeze, each wave, each heartbeat is part of that same vast respiration. And though the planet's breath is slow, it's alive. It reminds us that balance does not come from stillness, but from movement, from flow, from the endless act of giving and receiving. So as you listen now to the sound of your own breathing, to the quiet space between one inhale and the next, imagine that you are breathing with the earth itself, the same rhythm, the same motion, the same calm, because in truth you are. The ocean breathes, the earth breathes, you breathe, all in time, all in harmony. We often think of gravity as something distant and mechanical, a law of motion, a force that governs planets and tides. But it is also something intimate, something that touches every atom of our being. The same invisible hand that pulls at the sea also moves softly through us. Every time the moon tugs at the ocean, she tugs at you too, a quiet reminder that we are never separate from the rhythm of the world. Of course the pull is small, you won't feel it as a lift or a sway, but your body, made mostly of water, knows. Scientists have measured subtle correlations between lunar cycles and the ebb and flow of human biology. In sleep patterns, in mood, in tides within the blood. It's as though our bodies, like the ocean, still remember the language of the moon. Our ancestors certainly did. They lived closer to that rhythm, feeling it in fishing, in planting, in rest. They knew that certain nights felt different, a touch more wakeful under the full moon, a deeper quiet beneath the new. The body doesn't resist the sky. It listens. Modern science might call it coincidence or circadian rhythm, but perhaps it's more than that. Perhaps it's a kind of gravitational empathy, the same pull that guides the seas stirring faintly within us. Even our hearts beat in tidal patterns. The flow of blood through our veins moves in pulses, rising and falling in pressure like miniature waves. The fluids in our cells shift subtly with pressure changes in the environment, sinking to cycles we no longer notice. And our breath, that endless exchange of air, mirrors the ocean's inhale and exhale, a rhythm so ancient that it's encoded in the body itself. If you've ever felt a sudden calm while staring at the moon, or a strange longing when looking across still water, that's the pull at work, not as a force, but as a connection, a reminder that you are made of the same particles, bound by the same gravity, illuminated by the same light that ripples across the waves. And though the effect is small, the meaning is vast. You don't have to live by the sea to feel it. Every night, wherever you are, the moon's influence brushes past you, altering the tides in the ocean, the air, and maybe, in ways we can't quite measure, the tides of the mind. Perhaps that's why we sleep differently under her light, why dreams seem to shimmer with more detail, why emotions rise gently to the surface. The moon has been our silent companion since before we had words. She has watched every generation drift into sleep beneath her glow, her gravity linking the oceans, the winds, the pulse of life itself. So tonight, as you rest, imagine that faint ancient pull reaching you too. It doesn't demand, it doesn't insist, it simply connects. The same force that shapes waves moves through you now, guiding your breath, softening your thoughts, keeping you gently tethered to the world. You are not just under the moon, you are within her reach, and she, always, is within yours. There is a quiet intelligence in moonlight, a kind of awareness that speaks not in words but in feeling. For as long as humans have gazed upward, we have felt something stir when the moon appears. Her glow isn't bright enough to blind, only to remind. She softens the world without erasing the dark, illuminating just enough to let mystery remain. In that half-light, the mind begins to drift. Thoughts slow, boundaries blur. The moon invites reflection, not just of her light upon the water, but of our own inner tides. Artists, poets, wanderers and dreamers have always known this. They spoke of lunacy, not as madness, but as enchantment, the way moonlight opens something secret in the human soul. There is truth in the old stories. The brain responds to cycles of light, and the moon's changing glow affects the body's clock more than we realize. Studies have shown that people sleep a little less deeply during full moons, their dreams more vivid, their rest more fragile. Our ancestors, sleeping beneath open skies, must have felt it more profoundly. That luminous restlessness, the strange energy that stirs when the moon is near her fullest. But not all lunar influence is unrest. For many, the moon brings calm. Her light has no harshness. It's reflection, not radiation. It doesn't burn, it caresses. It shows that illumination can be gentle, that clarity doesn't always need brightness. Under moonlight, the world becomes simpler. Shadows lengthen, sound softens, and everything slows to the pace of breath. There's something healing in that light. It doesn't expose, it soothes, it invites stillness, contemplation, the kind of quiet that modern life often forgets. The same glow that pulls the oceans also pulls the mind inward, reminding us that peace is not the absence of thought, but the soft unfolding of it. In some cultures, moonlight was considered medicine. Ancient healers told their patients to walk under her glow, to breathe her silver air, to let her wash away the heat of worry. Even now there's wisdom in that image. To let the cool light touch your skin, to release what feels heavy, to be gently reminded that time, like tides, moves and renews itself. The moon doesn't change us through power, but through patience. She visits every night, regardless of clouds or chaos. Sometimes she hides, sometimes she shines, but always she returns. That constancy is its own kind of comfort, a steady rhythm in a restless world. As you drift tonight, think of her light finding you, even through walls and distance. It doesn't have to be seen to be felt. It moves softly, like thought, like memory, like breath. The same glow that silvers the ocean now brushes across your eyelids, whispering, "Slow down, let go, float." Moonlight, after all, is borrowed sunlight, transformed, softened, made gentle enough to dream beneath. So close your eyes and let it touch you. Not to awaken, but to remind you that even in darkness something always watches over, quietly keeping the rhythm of your peace. Long before telescopes traced her craters, or scientists mapped her orbit, humanity already knew the moon, not through equations, but through feeling. Across cultures and continents, the moon was the first calendar, the first compass, the first clock that spoke in light instead of numbers. To the ancients, she was not a rock in space, but a living spirit, a guardian who watched the sea, the crops, and the heart of every traveller moving beneath her glow. In Polynesia, navigators crossed vast oceans guided by the stars and the moon's reflection on the water. They could read her like a map, knowing that when she rose later each night, so too would the winds shift, the tides change, and new islands appear over the horizon. They did not fear the sea, for they understood that the moon was their companion, lighting their way even when no land was in sight. In Japan, poets gathered for tsukimi, moon-viewing festivals, sitting quietly by lakes and cups of tea to watch her reflection ripple. They didn't speak much. Words felt unnecessary. To them, the moon's beauty lay in its impermanence, always changing yet always returning. They believed that in every phase, from sliver to circle to shadow, there was a lesson in patience, in acceptance, in flow. In Greece, she was Selene, the goddess who drove her chariot of silver across the heavens each night, her light spilling over mountains and seas. Her passing marked the hours of the night as surely as the sun measured the day. Even the tides, they believed, were her gentle caress upon the earth, a lover's hand drawing the water near. And in Africa, in the deserts where light is scarce and silence deep, tribes sang to her as the mother of waters, the one who taught the rains to return. They marked her faces not only for agriculture but for storytelling, each full moon a time to gather, to share tales, to remember that even in darkness light could be borrowed from elsewhere. The moon's phases taught humanity the rhythm of time itself: growth, fullness, release, renewal. From planting to harvest, from birth to rest, everything mirrored her cycle. Even now, though most of us live under electric light, some quiet part of us still responds to her pull. We still sense her presence when she rises, that strange blend of awe and peace, as though something ancient within us wakes and remembers. The ancients were right to call her keeper, of tides, of time, of memory. The moon has never stopped watching, never stopped marking the pace of Earth's quiet motion. And in return, we have never stopped looking up. There's comfort in knowing that every human who has ever lived has seen this same light, from cave fires to city streets, from ancient seafarers to you lying here tonight. Her face changes, but her rhythm endures. So when you next look at the moon, know that you're part of a lineage stretching back to the dawn of the wonder. You're one of the many who have paused beneath her, felt her pull, and understood, if only for a moment, that you belong to something larger, something timeless. She was here long before you. She will remain long after. But for now, she is exactly where she has always been, watching, waiting, keeping the rhythm of the sea and the soul. Even in its poetry, the moon's dance is bound to science, a choreography precise enough to be measured, but soft enough to be felt. The seas do not simply rise and fall, they resonate. Every bay, every gulf, every inlet has its own rhythm, a natural frequency, a tempo that the tides play like music. And when the moon's pull matches that rhythm perfectly, something remarkable happens. The ocean begins to sway higher, fuller, more alive. This is resonance, nature's hidden harmony. The same principle that makes a violin string sing or a bridge hum can set entire seas in motion. In some places, the timing of the tides and the shape of the coastline align so completely that water piles up in breathtaking ways. The Bay of Fundy in Canada, for instance, experiences the highest tides on Earth, more than 16 metres between high and low. There, twice a day, the ocean rushes in and retreats with the speed and force of a living pulse, all because the bay's natural rhythm matches the moon's pull. It is a reminder that even the mightiest forces of the universe can be gentle when out of sync, and magnificent when perfectly timed. The moon does not push harder over Fundy than anywhere else. She simply finds a willing partner. The shape of the land listens to the timing of the sky, and together they create movement that no one could make alone. This same pattern repeats across the planet. In some fjords, the resonance is soft, a rise of only a few centimetres, like a slow breath. In others, it's dramatic, the sea rushing forward, then sliding back like a sigh. Each shore hums with its own pitch, its own memory of motion. We often forget that the world itself can sing. These tidal resonances are its melodies, gravity its metronome, and the moon its quiet conductor. Nothing about it is random. Every current, every crest, every wavelet breaking on the sand is part of a grand equation, precise, repeatable, eternal. And yet, it feels like art. Standing near a resonant bay, you can feel it in your bones, a faint vibration underfoot as though the earth itself is breathing through water. The sea becomes a speaker for the cosmos, translating invisible forces into touch and sound. Perhaps that is why we find calm in rhythm, in the sway of a hammock, the ticking of a clock, the steady rocking of a train. Our bodies recognize resonance. We find peace not in stillness, but in patterns that move in time with us. The science of sway reminds us that harmony isn't about silence, it's about alignment. The moon and the sea don't fight for dominance. They listen to each other, match each other's pace, and together create something beautiful. If you let yourself drift into their rhythm tonight, your breath might find that same resonance. The inhale, the exhale, the earth turning beneath the moon, all of it synchronized in a single endless flow. And as you rest in that awareness, remember, the universe moves not with noise, but with grace. Every wave that rises is a note, every tide a measure, every breath a beat. You are part of the same song, swaying gently, perfectly in time. There is one place on earth where the sea seems almost alive, a place where tides race and climb like breathing mountains of water. The Bay of Fundy, between the coasts of Canada and Nova Scotia, is the stage where the moon's pull and Earth's shape meet in perfect rhythm. Here, the ocean rises higher than anywhere else on the planet, up to 16 metres between low and high tide. Imagine that. A wall of water, taller than a house, sweeping in and out every 6 hours, like the heartbeat of the world made visible. At first glance, it seems like magic, but it's a symphony of physics. The Bay of Fundy is shaped like a funnel, narrow at its end and wide at its mouth. When the moon's gravitational pull begins to draw the ocean inward, the water rushes down this narrowing corridor. But before it can escape again, the moon calls once more, just in time to pull the next wave of water inward. Each pull builds upon the last, amplifying the movement until the sea itself seems to leap toward the land. This is tidal resonance, the Earth's music made manifest. If you stand at the edge of Fundy during the change of tides, the transformation feels unreal. Boats that floated freely at noon rest on the sand by dusk. Mudflats that stretched endlessly under sunlight vanish completely beneath a rolling, gleaming tide. Whole ecosystems rise and fall with this pulse, shorebirds feeding in the low tide's mud, fish and plankton returning with the high tide's flood. It is not destruction, but balance. The landscape itself breathes twice a day. The air there carries a strange electricity, a low, humming awareness that the ocean is thinking, waiting, ready to move again. Locals say you can feel the tide before you see it, a subtle pressure in the chest, a change in the scent of the air. And then it comes, slowly at first, then faster, climbing shorelines and cliffs, pushing streams backward, swallowing the silence with motion. It's humbling to witness something so vast yet so precise. The same invisible gravity that keeps the moon in orbit choreographs this spectacle, a force both gentle and irresistible, elegant and absolute. The sea, the bay, the moon, all perfectly attuned, never missing a beat. The Bay of Fundy is proof that the universe doesn't need noise to create wonder. Its power is not in chaos but in timing. It reminds us that harmony is not stillness. It is movement in agreement. And perhaps that lesson extends beyond the water. In our own lives too, things rise when they are meant to rise, and fall when they are meant to fall. There is grace in that rhythm, a trust that the tide will always return. As the moon glides over Fundy tonight, she draws the sea once more toward her light. The water climbs, the land exhales, and for a brief moment, everything moves together. Sky, sea, stone, and silence. It is a dance that has never stopped, a song older than the land it shapes, a reminder that even in vastness, the universe still keeps time. If you could strip away the poetry and look at the dance of the moon and the sea through the eyes of pure physics, what you would find is no less astonishing. Every wave, every tide, every rise and fall of the ocean is an expression of gravity's precision. A relationship so delicate that it shapes not just our days and nights, but the future of both worlds. When the moon pulls at the oceans, the earth itself responds. Not just the water, but the entire planet stretches ever so slightly toward its companion in the sky. This constant pull and release create friction deep within the planet's crust and seas, what scientists call tidal dissipation. That friction transforms a tiny portion of Earth's rotational energy into heat, invisible, minuscule but constant. And because energy can't be destroyed, it has to go somewhere. The moon receives it. Bit by bit, the moon takes that energy and converts it into motion, drifting away from Earth at about 3.8 centimeters every year, roughly the width of 2 fingers. It's a slow separation, but a certain one. Every moment, every tide carries the faintest echo of farewell, yet it is not loss, but transformation. The same energy that once spun the Earth faster now lifts the moon farther into the dark. Billions of years ago, the moon was much closer, so close that its pull raised massive tides hundreds of meters high, tides that shaped the young continents and perhaps even stirred the chemistry of life itself. The Earth spun rapidly then, its day lasting barely 6 hours. But with each passing eon, the tides slowed that spin and gifted the moon its distance. The partnership matured, softened, became steady. What was once violent and raw grew graceful and eternal. Today we are living within that balance, the Earth turning once every 24 hours, the moon circling us every 27 days, both locked in a gravitational embrace that grows quieter over time. Eventually, far into the future, the moon will drift so far that Earth's rotation and the moon's orbit will match perfectly. When that day comes, the same face of the Earth will always face the moon, just as the same side of the moon faces us now. 2 dancers, forever locked in each other's gaze, motionless in their movement. It's difficult not to feel a kind of tenderness in that prediction. The hidden physics of tides isn't just a story of forces, it's a story of evolution, of energy being exchanged rather than lost, of balance found through motion. The universe, it seems, prefers relationships over isolation. If you listen closely, you can almost hear it, that quiet conversation between the Earth and the Moon. Each tide that rolls in says thank you, each retreat says I understand. It's a dialogue of distance written in gravity and time. And even as the Moon moves farther away, her influence never fades. The pull remains, the rhythm continues. Because in the language of physics, love is simply another word for connection. An attraction that can stretch across space and yet never truly break. The hidden physics of tides teaches us what the poets already knew, that all motion, all change, all distance begins with a single act of reaching out. The Moon reaches still. The Earth replies in waves. Every rotation of the Earth carries a secret, a tiny slowing, a gentle surrender to time. Though our planet still turns with steady grace, it is imperceptibly easing its pace, like a dancer whose movements grow softer as the music deepens. The cause of this slow hush lies not in the air or the land, but in the tides, the ceaseless friction between the Moon's pull and the ocean's flow. As the Moon tugs at the sea, the oceans swell toward it, creating those two great tidal bulges that follow the Moon around the globe. But because Earth spins faster than the Moon orbits, those bulges are always a little ahead, just out of alignment. That small misstep becomes a vast exchange of energy. The bulges pull on the Moon, accelerating her forward in her orbit. And by the quiet rules of physics, when one body gains momentum, the other must lose it. The Moon speeds up, the Earth slows down. It's almost imperceptible, a loss of about 2 milliseconds from the length of a day every century. But across deep time, this tiny friction has reshaped the entire planet's history. Hundreds of millions of years ago, days were shorter, nights were briefer, the sky turned faster. Fossil corals reveal that 400 million years ago, a year held about 420 days. The Moon was closer then, brighter, its pull on the seas more intense. Over the ages, as she drifted outward, the Earth's rotation eased, the days stretched, and the planet's rhythm slowed into the calm we know now. The tides are, in a way, the planet's memory of motion, the record of all the turns and years that have passed since the beginning. Each wave that breaks upon a shore carries a whisper of that ancient deceleration, that slow passing of energy from world to world. And this trade continues still. Each night as the Moon rises over the horizon, she collects a small portion of Earth's spin, not out of greed, but as part of a shared balance. The two bodies are bound in an endless act of give and take, one slowing so the other may drift, one yielding so the other may shine. If you close your eyes and imagine the Earth turning beneath your feet, the Moon gliding above in silence, you can almost sense that connection. The faint hum of motion, the subtle drag of time. We are living in the pause between moments, within a universe that never truly stops but only softens its steps. The slowing of the Earth is not a loss, but an offering, an exchange that allows both worlds to endure in harmony. Without it, the Moon's orbit would crumble, and the tides that nurture life would vanish. With it, we are given balance, stability, and time. The next time you watch a sunset, think of this. The length of that day is slightly longer than the one before it. Each spin is a little slower, each twilight a fraction deeper. The Earth is growing older, not in decay, but in grace. The planet turns, the Moon drifts, and the universe keeps its rhythm, unhurried, unending, and always in flow. If you could travel backward through the vast ages of the Earth, the first thing you'd notice would be the pace. The planet's spin quickens, the days shorten, the tides thunder higher, the Moon glows enormous in the sky. Everything moves with urgency, young, wild, unrefined. Billions of years ago, when the moon was born from the Earth's molten body, she circled much closer, perhaps only 20,000 kilometres away, a looming silver giant hanging low above stormy seas. Her pull on those early oceans was immense. Each tide surged like a living wall, rising and crashing with a force that reshaped continents. Land was still forming then, the air thick with steam, the seas restless and bright with new minerals. In those vast, violent tides, the first whispers of life began. Scientists believe that in the tidal pools left behind as the oceans receded each day, chemistry found rhythm, molecules colliding, combining, dissolving, forming again in endless repetition. Water meeting rock, heat meeting cool, chaos meeting order. The tides did not merely sculpt the planet. They may have set the tempo for life's first heartbeat. The moon, even then, was midwife to creation. As time flowed forward, the planet began to calm. The moon drifted outward, softening her pull. Days grew longer, tides gentler, the world more hospitable. The furious oceans became teachers of rhythm instead of destroyers of land. In their shallows, algae began to bloom. In their depths, organisms learned to swim. Everything that followed, forests, mountains, coral, breath, unfolded in step with that slowing spin and widening orbit. We tend to think of history in years, but the story of the Earth is written in cycles, turning, tilting, breathing. Every rotation carries an echo of the past, a vibration that travels through time. Even now, with every tide that rolls and retreats, the sea remembers its youth, the roar, the heat, the wild intimacy between moon and planet. If we could hear those echoes, perhaps they would sound like a distant heartbeat, too low for the ear, too slow for the pulse. Yet we feel it unconsciously, standing by the sea, that strange mix of nostalgia and calm, of memory we never lived yet somehow know. Every generation has stood at a shoreline and looked up at the same moon, and though her face has drifted millions of kilometres away, the connection remains. The light that touches your skin tonight once touched the first oceans. The same gravity that lifts today's tide also stirred the waters that cradled life's beginning. The moon has been both witness and participant in every chapter of the planet's story. She has watched mountains rise and fall, glaciers breathe across continents, rivers carve new paths to the sea. Through it all, her pull has remained constant, a promise across time that motion will never cease. So when you look up and see her hanging silent in the sky, remember that you are seeing more than light. You are seeing time itself, stretched thin, softened by distance, yet still in conversation with the water at your feet. The tides that move tonight are echoes, not of waves, but of ages. The same pulse that began creation still hums beneath the surface, a rhythm carried from the dawn of the world into your quiet breath. Somewhere in the vast sweep of time, after the earth cooled and the moon settled into her patient orbit, the tides began to play a gentler tune. No longer cataclysmic walls of water, they became a steady rhythm, the first reliable heartbeat the planet had ever known. And within that rhythm, something miraculous stirred. In the shallow basins where the ocean met new land, pools of water warmed beneath the sun. Minerals dissolved into their depths. Lightning flashed, striking the surface and sparking reactions too small for the eye, yet powerful enough to begin the chemistry of life. When the tides retreated, those pools evaporated, concentrating the soup of elements. When they returned, they stirred the mixture again, adding energy, movement, breath. It was repetition that made creation possible. The constant coming and going of the sea under the moon's pull. Life, it seems, began not in stillness, but in motion. The tides gave Earth its first laboratory, a place where time could repeat itself endlessly, where mistakes could become miracles. Each tide brought new combinations of molecules, new chances for something to persist. Over uncounted ages, those molecules became self-sustaining, learning to copy themselves, to grow, to change. The tides had provided rhythm, and rhythm had birthed memory. It's strange to think that every living thing, from coral to whale, from fern to human, carries that memory still. We are all children of those first tidal pools, echoes of water that once breathed in and out under the same moon. The salt in our blood is the sea's inheritance. The water in our cells swells and contracts with tides we can no longer feel. The moon pulls on us too, not just through gravity, but through ancestry. When we speak of the ocean as the source of life, we're also speaking of the moon. Without her gentle tug, the seas might never have mixed, never have moved enough to awaken. She did not create life, but she gave it rhythm, the most essential ingredient of all. Even today, every creature that lives by the water follows that ancient rhythm. Crabs hatch by the timing of the tides. Seaweeds bloom by the moon cycle. Turtles return to the same beaches their ancestors once knew. The sea remembers, the moon remembers, and so, somehow, do we. Think of the human heart, expanding, contracting in perfect measure. The breath, rising, falling, rising again. These two are tides, microcosms of the same pattern that once stirred the primal seas. The ocean didn't just give us life, it gave us its rhythm. So when you stand at the shore and watch the water move, you're watching your own beginning. The same lunar breath that lifted the first waves now moves through you. Each tide that breaks carries your oldest memory. The moment motion became life. In the end, the tides didn't just shape the planet, they shaped consciousness itself. They taught the earth how to repeat, how to persist, how to begin again. Every heartbeat is a tide reborn, every breath is the ocean remembering, and the moon, still watching, still pulling, has never stopped guiding that rhythm forward. Even now, billions of years after life first stirred in the lunar tides, the ocean continues to follow the moon's clock. Some of its oldest inhabitants, the corals, are keepers of this ancient rhythm. Hidden beneath the waves, their colonies grow like living cities, their walls built of calcium and time, and though they have no eyes to see the moon, they know her phases intimately. Once every month, under the light of the full moon, coral reefs awaken in unison. For a few quiet nights, something extraordinary happens. Thousands of species scattered across miles of ocean release their eggs and sperm into the water all at once. The sea becomes a snowfall of colour, pink, white, gold, and blue, rising like stars in reverse. No signal we can detect commands this act. No voice calls them upward. It is the moon. Her gravity, her light, her timing, all combine to guide the coral's internal calendars. Each reef waits until the moment is perfect, until the moonlight and tide align, and then the sea blooms with life. It is one of nature's most breathtaking synchronies, a global heartbeat written in light. For the corals, this is not chance, it's necessity. In the vast ocean, where currents scatter everything they touch, survival depends on precision. By spawning together, the corals fill the sea with possibility. So many offspring that at least some will find their place to settle and grow. Each generation builds upon the last, layer by layer, creating the very structures that shelter the ocean's life. If you were to dive among them during one of these nights, you would see the water thick with shimmer, a floating galaxy of beginnings. The moon's reflection dances on the surface above and below, her rhythm repeats in living form. Every flicker of movement, every release of colour is a tribute to her pull. And the corals are not alone. Countless creatures, from plankton to sea worms to fish, synchronise their life cycles to the moon. The sea is full of calendars made of instinct, each one turning its pages according to lunar light. Even turtles crawling onto beaches guided by the glow of the horizon are following the same ancient script. It is astonishing to realize how deeply the moon's pulse threads through the ocean, not as domination, but as companionship. She does not command these creatures, she invites them, and they respond generation after generation in faith to that invitation. When scientists study coral skeletons, they find layers, thin bands like tree rings, each marking a cycle of growth shaped by the tides and the moon's timing. These bands are quite literally a record of lunar rhythm carved into living stone. Each line whispers, "I was here when the moon was full. I grew when her light returned." In that sense, corals are the ocean's memory made visible. They're timekeepers of a world still ruled by light and flow. So as you breathe now, imagine that rhythm pulsing through the sea, invisible clocks ticking beneath moonlight, the planet's oldest song still keeping perfect time. The corals rise, the tides fall, and the moon, patient and ageless, watches her reflection grow. In their quiet, glowing harmony, you can hear the same truth the ocean has always known, that life itself is the act of keeping time with the sky. On quiet coasts across the world, the moon still guides those who live by the rhythm of the sea. Long before digital clocks and satellite forecasts, fishermen watched the sky for signs of her light, trusting her cycles more than any calendar. To them, the moon was not just a symbol of beauty, she was a companion, a compass, and sometimes a silent promise that the sea would be kind. Picture a small wooden boat rocking gently on dark water. The air is cool, carrying the scent of salt and kelp. The fisherman rows slowly, his oars dipping soundlessly into the silver path the moon lays upon the sea. Each stroke seems to carry him not through space, but through time, the same way his ancestors once did, guided by the same light under the same tide. He knows, without looking, when the fish will rise, for the full moon stirs the ocean's creatures, drawing them toward the surface. He knows the safest hour to cast his net when the tide will turn and carry him home. He measures not minutes or miles, but moments, the angle of the moon, the glint on the waves, the shift of the wind. For thousands of years this was how people lived with the sea, not against it, not in mastery of it, but in conversation with it. The moon said when to fish, when to harvest, when to rest. Her light on the water was enough to guide them safely to shore, even before firelight reached the world's edges. And in return, they learned her moods, how each phase changed the tide's voice, how her rising could foretell calm or storm. Even now, in places where city lights fade and the old ways remain, you can find fishermen who still listen. They'll tell you how the fish move differently under a crescent moon than under a full one, how the tides hum a deeper note when the moon is new. They'll say you can feel her in the pull of the net, in the breath of the water, in the quiet between waves. It is not superstition, it is rhythm, a shared heartbeat between sky and sea carried forward in human memory. The moon has always been the fisherman's clock, her light a lantern no storm can dim. And perhaps this is why, when you stand by the ocean at night, you feel both small and safe. The same light that once touched ancient sails now touches you. The same rhythm that once rocked those early boats still moves beneath your feet. The fisherman, his boat, the sea, the moon, all a part of a story that has never stopped being told. A story written in reflection and tide, in patience and return. He pulls in his net and rows back toward the shore. Behind him the moon glides quietly across the sky, her path mirrored on the waves. Neither rushes, neither rests. They move together, one of light, one of water, in an understanding older than words. And as his oar lifts for the last time, sending ripples through the silver path behind him, it's as if the night itself is breathing. The moon exhales, the sea inhales, and life continues, flowing, eternal, serene. Every night when darkness folds across the world, she appears, the silver companion, patient and unhurried, gliding in her ancient path around the earth. To the eye she seems still, to the soul she feels eternal. The moon needs no language to be understood. Her silence is her voice, and her light speaks directly to the quiet places within us. She's not a visitor. She is family, born of the same collision that shaped our planet, carved from Earth's own body, cast outward to circle us forever. In a sense, the moon is our reflection, the piece of ourselves that was flung into the sky, now watching over us from afar. The bond between Earth and Moon is not one of dependence, but of remembrance. They are two halves of one beginning, drifting apart yet still moving in perfect rhythm. If you look closely, her face tells the story of time itself, the craters and plains, scars of creation written in soft grey. Each mark is a memory of what the universe once was, molten, wild, in motion. Yet despite all she's endured, she shines without bitterness. She accepts the light of the sun, reflects it gently, and gives it back as peace. To the sea she is a guide, to the tides a heartbeat, to the traveller a companion in solitude, and to the restless human spirit she is a reminder that stillness can hold motion, that silence can hold meaning. The moon's orbit is not perfect. It wobbles, it shifts, it leans ever so slightly. But perhaps that imperfection is what makes her so beautifully real. Like us, she drifts between fullness and emptiness, light and shadow. Each phase is a gesture, a bow to time, a wave to change, a quiet promise to return. Throughout history, people have written to her, sung to her, prayed beneath her glow. The moon has been mother, muse, and mystery, her light woven through stories of love, loss, and longing. Yet she asks for nothing in return. She gives light freely, knowing she will fade and rise again, and in that giving there is wisdom. The moon teaches us that reflection is not weakness, that it's possible to shine by simply existing, by quietly returning what we've received. She reminds us that distance does not mean detachment, that presence does not require sound. If you stand beneath her light long enough, you begin to feel that gentle pull, not the gravity of mass, but the gravity of connection. She steadies the seas, the seasons, the spin of the earth itself. Without her, the planet's axis would tilt wildly, the tides would vanish, and the rhythm of life would lose its beat. But she is here, steadfast, floating in her luminous silence, keeping the world in balance. The moon asks for nothing but to move in her circle, to reflect, to glow, to watch. As you breathe beneath her silver gaze tonight, remember that she is always near, orbiting above your dreams, patient as the tide, faithful as time. The same light that caresses the waves touches your skin. The same force that moves oceans moves your heart. And though she drifts ever farther, she remains bound to us, our silver companion, our oldest friend, forever watching, forever in flow. There comes a moment, somewhere between night and dawn, when the ocean seems to stop breathing. The tide pauses, suspended between its rise and fall, and for a few hushed minutes the water lies perfectly still, a mirror stretched across the world. It is not silence exactly, but a deep, resonant calm, as if the earth itself is holding its breath. This is the slack tide, the turning point of motion. The sea is neither coming nor going. The pull of the moon balances perfectly against the momentum of the earth, and in that equilibrium everything rests. No wave breaks, no current rushes, no sound carries but the faint crackle of salt and sand. Even the wind, as if in reverence, softens its voice. In that stillness the stars seem brighter. The moonlight, unhindered, spreads like silk over the water. The line between sky and sea disappears, and the world feels endless, two infinities touching in a shimmer of quiet light. For those who watch closely, it is a sacred time. Fishermen know it, sailors too. They wait for it, not to act, but to listen. Because in that pause you can feel something rare, the pulse beneath all motion, the realization that stillness is not the absence of energy, but its balance. Even beneath the calm surface, life continues. Plankton drift in the dark, small fish shift like scattered stars, distant whales sing into the deep. The sea never truly stops, but for a breath it hides its motion, reminding us that rest is part of rhythm, not its opposite. Perhaps that's why the slack tide feels so peaceful. It's as if the ocean, after hours of rising and retreating, finally sighs. The great effort of movement resolves into simplicity. The moon, still high above, watches without demand. The earth turns beneath her gaze, slowly, faithfully, and between them the sea floats in perfect neutrality, not yearning, not releasing, just being. If you find yourself awake at midnight, unable to sleep, imagine standing at that edge, feet in the cool sand, eyes on the horizon where the moon meets her reflection. Feel the world slow breathing. The calm you sense is not emptiness, but alignment. The planet, the sea, the moon, and you sharing the same pause. In every life there are moments like this, times when movement halts, when direction blurs, when you find yourself suspended between what has been and what comes next. The still sea at midnight reminds us that these pauses are not voids, they are thresholds. The tide will turn again, as it always does, but the stillness in between is where balance lives. So breathe with the ocean now. Let the quiet take shape within you. The waves will return soon enough. But for this moment, this small, perfect moment, let yourself rest in the calm between tides. The moon's reflection wavers softly, the horizon fades, and the world, just for an instant, is perfectly at peace. When you look at the ocean, it may seem like a world apart, vast, untouchable, its rhythm separate from your own. But beneath that endless surface, a single pulse connects everything, the pulse of gravity. It is the quiet heartbeat of the universe, invisible, steady, eternal, the force that binds the moon to the sea, the planets to the sun, and us to the ground beneath our feet. Gravity is not noise. It is silence made motion. It does not shout its presence, yet it shapes every movement in existence. Each wave that rolls toward the shore, each tide that rises in answer to the moon, each breath you take, all are threads in the same gravitational weave. If you could see it, gravity would not look like a rope or a chain, but a soft curvature, a bending of space itself. The moon tugs at that curvature, and the earth responds. Water flows into the subtle hollows of that pull, creating the tides we see, the visible surface of an invisible rhythm. Like music heard through walls, we perceive only the echo of the force that plays it. In the language of science, gravity is measured in numbers and vectors, but in the language of being, it is felt as belonging. It is what keeps everything from drifting apart. It holds oceans to planets, planets to stars, and stars to galaxies. A cosmic embrace so vast that it becomes the architecture of time itself. Here, on this small blue world, gravity's pulse is most visible in the sea. When the moon rises, the oceans lean toward her light, and when she sets, they fall away again. The pattern is ancient and exact, a conversation older than words. The moon pulls, the earth resists, the result is harmony. Even your own body answers to that rhythm. The same gravitational field that guides the tides passes through you now, unbroken, constant. The molecules in your blood, the fluids within your cells, the weight of your breath, all of it participates in that quiet correspondence with the sky. You're not simply on the earth. You're of it, held in place by the same invisible thread that moves the oceans. It's humbling, and comforting to know that everything is touched by the same force. Gravity doesn't discriminate, it binds equally, lovingly to every atom of the universe. And though we can't feel it pulling in the moment-to-moment flow of our lives, we live entirely within its embrace. Sometimes, when the night is still and the moon hangs high, you can feel it if you listen. Not as a tug or a weight, but as a soft steadiness. A reminder that motion and rest are never truly separate. The same force that draws the sea upward is the one that allows you to stand, to breathe, to dream without floating away. The moon and the sea move because of it. The earth turns because of it. And you too are part of that great gravitational rhythm, a living note in the quiet song that holds the cosmos together. The pulse of gravity never stops. It flows through water, through air, through you. It keeps the world turning, the tides rising, and the universe forever in motion. And if you listen closely, beneath the sound of your own breathing, you might hear it now, steady, soft, eternal. The moon and the sea are not alone in their choreography. Across the universe, other worlds move in similar rhythms, celestial pairs and trios and swarms, each locked in their own tidal embrace. The same invisible pulse that draws our oceans upward whispers across the cosmos, shaping planets, moons, and even stars in slow, graceful movement. On Jupiter, dozens of moons circle in immense precision. One of them, Europa, is smaller than Earth's moon, yet beneath its shell of ice lies an ocean deeper than all our seas combined. That hidden ocean moves constantly, stirred by Jupiter's enormous gravity. As the giant planet tugs and flexes Europa's crust, the friction warms the water below, keeping it liquid, alive with possibility. Scientists believe that this endless kneading, this tidal breathing, may provide the heat and energy needed for life. The same rhythm that began our story might be repeating there, beneath alien ice. Farther away on Saturn's moon, Enceladus, geysers erupt from fissures near the South Pole, spraying plumes of vapour into space. Those fountains exist because of tides too. The moon stretches and compresses with every orbit, its interior warmed by the giant's pull. What escapes into space carries traces of organic molecules, another echo of that ancient partnership between gravity and water. Even Titan, with its lakes of liquid methane, shows hints of tides. They are not waves of salt water, but of hydrocarbons moving slowly beneath a golden haze. Different chemistry, same dance. Everywhere gravity meets fluid, the cosmos finds rhythm. Beyond the moons, entire stars bend to one another's will. In binary systems, pairs of suns orbit each other, stretching and shaping their glowing forms through mutual attraction. Some even share their outer layers, trading plasma as though exchanging breath. In the distant dark, galaxies themselves ripple with tidal forces, immense gravitational tides that warp their shapes as they drift past each other in slow-motion encounters lasting billions of years. The dance between Earth and its moon, then, is not unique. It is part of a universal ballet. From the smallest grain of dust to the largest spiral of stars, everything moves according to gravity's music. Each orbit, each tide, each rotation is a variation on the same theme: closeness, pull, release, return. To think of this is to realize how connected everything truly is. The same force that pulls the moon across our sky also bends starlight, sculpts galaxies, and keeps atoms from drifting apart. When you watch the tide slip over the sand, you're seeing the universe act in miniature, a reflection of cosmic motion made visible in a single wave. It's easy to forget that what we call home, this blue, breathing planet, is part of a greater choreography. Yet the evidence is everywhere. The moon's pull, the seasons, the auroras that shimmer when solar winds meet our magnetic field. We are not spectators of the cosmic dance, we are dancers within it. So when you gaze at the night sky, remember that every light you see, every star, every moon, every distant glow is moving too, pulled and guided by the same rhythm that stirs the ocean's edge. The cosmos, like the sea, never truly rests. It flows, it sways, it turns, and somewhere, far beyond our horizon, other oceans rise and fall under alien moons, 1,000 hidden dances unfolding in perfect silent time. In all the universe's vast machinery there is something poetic about pull, about the way one thing reaches for another without touch, without sound, yet with absolute devotion. Gravity is not just a law, it is longing given form. It draws worlds together, guides their motion, holds stars and galaxies, and keeps oceans from flying into the dark. If you listen closely, you can almost hear it, not as sound, but as rhythm. A tide against the shore, the swing of the earth, the whisper of your own heartbeat. Each is gravity translated into motion, the poetry of the cosmos written not in ink but in movement. The pull between the moon and the sea is tender, but it is also precise. Every centimetre of tide, every breath of water's rise and fall follows mathematical harmony, and yet, when we stand on a moonlit shore and watch the water glow, we do not think of equations. We feel wonder. That's the beauty of the universe. The closer we look at its mechanics, the more it feels like art. In truth, science and poetry have always been two names for the same thing, attempts to understand connection. The scientist describes gravity as a curve in space-time. The poet feels it as the ache of belonging. Both are right. Both are describing the same truth in different languages. The moon's pull is constant, yet never possessive. She does not drag the oceans forcefully, nor does she demand their loyalty. She simply exists, and her presence is enough. The sea answers willingly. Together, they demonstrate one of the universe's quietest lessons, that influence need not be control, and that attraction, at its most beautiful, is mutual. Every force of pull in nature follows that same principle. The Earth orbits the Sun not because it is compelled, but because it is balanced, falling forever toward the light, yet always moving sideways enough to never collide. Even the atoms in your body are bound by attraction, protons and electrons dancing in microscopic harmony, held in place by the same cosmic rule. Perhaps that's why human hearts understand gravity so instinctively. We know what it means to be drawn to something we cannot explain, to move around it, to feel its presence even across distance. Love, too, is a kind of pull, invisible, measurable only through what it moves within us. When the poet Rumi wrote, "The moon stays bright when it doesn't avoid the night," perhaps he was speaking not only of courage, but of gravity. The courage to remain, to continue orbiting what you love even in darkness. Tonight, as you breathe beneath the moon's glow, feel that pull, not as a weight, but as a tether to something vast and benevolent. It connects you to the sea, to the sky, to the unseen geometry of the stars. You're not a solitary being drifting in space. You're part of the universe's fabric, woven into its flow. Everything moves because something calls to it. Everything is held because something answers. That is the poetry of pull, the way the cosmos hums not with noise but with connection, not with commands but with quiet consent. The moon calls, the sea rises, the universe breathes, we listen. And in that endless dialogue of gravity and grace, everything, even you, finds its place. There are languages we speak with words, and others that exist without sound, languages of rhythm, of movement, of flow. The universe speaks in the latter. Every orbit, every rotation, every wave breaking upon the shore is a sentence written in motion. To understand it is to listen not with the ears, but with the body, to feel the patterns that bind everything together. The moon and the sea speak this language fluently. Their dialogue is constant, never spoken yet never broken. When the moon leans closer, the ocean rises. When she drifts away, the water falls. It is conversation as balance, the kind that requires no winning, no noise, only presence. This is the language the cosmos has always used. When a planet orbits its star, it is not trapped, it is responding. When a star collapses, its energy ripples outward as light, telling its story to distant galaxies. Even the smallest particles dance to the same grammar. Electrons circling nuclei, waves folding into form, energy flowing into matter, then back again. All of it, movement. All of it, meaning. If we could translate the universe's language into words, it might say, to exist is to move is to connect is to belong. The tides, then, are one of its most elegant poems. Every 12 hours, the ocean writes a new stanza across the earth, not in ink, but in salt and silver. The shore reads it as waves, the air carries it as mist. The moon answers with her steady gaze. And through it all, the earth turns, adding cadence to their verse. Human life is written in this same syntax. Our bodies move to unseen rhythms, the beat of the heart, the rise and fall of lungs, the cycles of waking and rest. Even our emotions follow currents, joy swelling and retreating, thought ebbing into stillness. To live is to be in translation, to let the language of motion speak through flesh, breath, and awareness. In that sense, motion is not the opposite of peace. It is peace, the peace of continuation, of flow, of never being truly still yet always in harmony. The ocean does not worry about where the next wave will fall. It simply moves, guided by gravity, trusting that every rise finds its fall, and every fall leads to rise again. The same is true of you. Your days may surge and recede, your thoughts may rush and quiet, but beneath it all there is rhythm, a deeper tide that keeps you balanced. You don't need to control it, you only need to listen. When you sit quietly and feel your breath, when you sense your heartbeat aligning with something greater, you are hearing the language of motion, the same one the moon and the sea have spoken since the beginning, the same one that hums in every atom, every current, every moment of being. We spend much of life searching for meaning, not realizing that we are swimming in it. Every turn of the earth is a syllable, every tide is a verse, every breath is a word, and the universe, vast, quiet, infinite, is the sentence still being written, flowing, expanding, continuing, a conversation with no end. If you look closely at the sea, you will see more than motion. You will see memory. Every ripple, every tide, every curling edge of foam carries a trace of what came before. The ocean is a living chronicle, a library written not in paper or stone, but in waves. Time itself has been etched into its depths, shaped by the moon's endless pull. Each tide that rises carries whispers of the last, grains of sand lifted and dropped in slightly different places, particles of salt and silt drifting farther. Tiny shells rolled into new patterns. Over hours and days the changes are small, but across centuries they tell a story. Coasts shift, islands form and vanish. Shorelines breathe in and out like the lungs of the world. Scientists can read this history. In cliffs made of ancient sediment, they find layers of rhythm, thin bands that once marked the meeting of tide and land, the pulse of time long before humans counted days. Fossilized corals reveal the number of tides per year millions of years ago, proof that the moon was closer, the earth spun faster, and the days were shorter. The planet's history is literally encoded in the rhythm of the sea. Even now, with each new wave, the ocean keeps writing. The sand beneath your feet is its most recent chapter, a mosaic of stories carried from distant shores, A single handful holds particles from mountains, shells from the deep, traces of creatures that lived and died long before we walked the earth. The sea forgets nothing. It only rewrites. There's something humbling in that. To realize that time is not a straight line, but a tide. It doesn't pass. It flows. It doesn't vanish. It reshapes. The past isn't behind us. It's beneath us, folded into every current, every drop of water, every breath of wind that carries the scent of salt. When you stand by the shore and watch the waves arriving, you're witnessing the handwriting of the universe. The water that touches your toes has touched countless other worlds, fallen as rain on jungles, frozen on mountaintops, flowed through the veins of creatures, then returned, always returning, to the sea. The tide is time, coming home. Even light reflected from the moon onto the water is a message from the past. A beam that left the sun a few minutes ago, travelled to the moon, then found its way here, to shimmer in this single moment before it fades again. The entire scene before you, the moon, the sea, your own reflection, is history and present combined, a single heartbeat stretched across time. Perhaps that's why we feel such peace when we watch the ocean. It reminds us that nothing is truly lost. Everything that was becomes something else. The waves erase, but they also reveal. They take, but they always give back. If you listen, the sea will tell you this truth in its oldest voice, just the sound of repetition without regret. It says, I have been here before, I will be here again. And so will we, in our own ways. For we too are made of time. Our bodies are the continuation of tides, our stories written in the same rhythm that moves the moon and the sea. Every wave that breaks is another second passing. Every retreat, another beginning. Time is not counted. It is felt, written softly in water, erased and written again. The moon remembers everything. Though she has no voice, no air, no sea of her own, her surface holds the story of time. Every impact, every shimmer of light, every gaze that has ever found her. She does not change quickly. She endures. And in her stillness she keeps the memory of motion, the tides, the lives, the night she has watched unfold beneath her glow. Her face, pocked and pale, is a history book without words, each crater a page, each shadow a line written by the hands of creation itself. When meteorites struck her surface billions of years ago, their scars remained, untouched by wind or rain. On Earth, time smooths things away, waves erase footprints, forests reclaim ruins, mountains crumble back into dust, but on the moon, nothing fades. Every mark is forever. She is the keeper of permanence in a universe defined by change, and yet her memory is not just written in stone. It is reflected nightly upon the ocean's surface. Every tide that moves below is an echo of her pull. Every ripple that catches her light is an acknowledgement of her watchful presence. Even when clouds hide her face, the sea continues to move as if she were there, because the moon's memory lives in the water now, carried forward by every wave. It's a beautiful thought that the sea and the moon remember each other. The sea remembering her pull, the moon remembering her reflection. They have watched one another for 4.5 billion years, and not once have they broken the rhythm. Humans too have become part of that memory. Every story told under moonlight, every song sung to the sea, every tide witnessed by human eyes is recorded in their shared rhythm. Long after the words fade, the pattern remains. The moon reflects, the water moves, and the earth continues to hum in time. Perhaps that is what memory truly is. Not the preservation of moments, but the repetition of feeling. The moon's glow each night feels familiar, not because it is the same light, but because it carries the same tenderness. The tide returning to shore feels like déjà vu, because it has happened endlessly before, and will happen endlessly again. And though the moon slowly drifts away, her influence remains. Gravity is the thread that binds her to us. an invisible promise that no distance will erase. She carries the memory of our pull just as we carry hers. Look up, and you see her as she was, always a few moments in the past, her light taking time to reach your eyes. Look down, and you see her reflection, moving with the sea in the present. Between those two, above and below, is memory itself, not static but fluid, ever shining, ever flowing. The moon does not need to speak to remind us of who we are. Her light is enough. Soft, forgiving, patient. It tells us that what we love can never truly disappear, only change form, only travel farther, only glow from a greater distance. The lunar memory is not about holding on. It is about continuing. She forgets nothing, but she never clings. She shines, she fades, she returns. And in her quiet rhythm, she teaches us that remembrance and renewal are one and the same. Every night she rises, every wave remembers, every soul beneath her silver gaze is part of the same gentle recollection. We often speak of the ocean as something outside ourselves, distant, immense, unreachable. But the truth is the sea never left us. Every human carries an ocean within. Our blood, our cells, our breath, all of them echo the tides that first stirred life on earth. We are walking memories of water, vessels of salt and motion. The chemistry of our blood mirrors that of seawater. The same minerals, sodium, potassium, calcium, magnesium, flow through us in nearly the same ratios as they do through the waves. When we sweat, when we cry, when our hearts beat, we're reliving an ancient pattern, a quiet inheritance from the primordial ocean that birthed us. Every pulse that moves through your veins is a tide in miniature. It rises, falls, and returns, carrying oxygen instead of plankton, energy instead of waves. When your heart contracts, it sends a surge of motion through your body. When it relaxes, the current recedes, just as the moon pulls and releases the sea. You're not separate from that rhythm. You are made from it. Even our brains, soft and shifting like the surface of the ocean, respond to the same cycles. Researchers found that lunar phases subtly affect human sleep, that our rest deepens when the moon wanes, and our dreams grow vivid when she is full. It's as if our inner tides still listen to her from across the vastness of space, remembering a connection too old to forget. Perhaps that is why we are drawn to water, why we find comfort in its presence, why its sound quiets the mind. The ocean does not remind us of adventure or distance. It reminds us of home. Before language, before land, before breath, we were surrounded by water. The sea was our first lullaby, the sound of amniotic waves whispering us into being. Even now, within each of us, that ocean remains. It is the rhythm behind our heartbeat, the salt on our skin, the calm that settles when we listen to rain. When we are restless, we seek the shore, as if the body knows where it came from, drawn unconsciously back to the place where gravity and time first taught matter how to move. If you stand by the water and let the tide wash over your feet, you can feel that kinship. The sea is not touching you, it is recognizing you. The salt of its waves greets the salt of your skin. The rhythm of its motion matches the rhythm of your heart. The ocean outside and the ocean inside momentarily become one, and that is the quiet miracle of existence, that the cosmos found a way to turn water into awareness, that the same substance that fills the deep also fills our yumyas when we look up at the moon. You're not simply looking at the sea, you're looking into yourself. You are the tide made flesh. You're the moon's answer, moving in time with her call. So tonight, as you breathe, imagine you're in an ocean, calm, slow, vast. Let each inhale be a wave approaching shore, and each exhale a tide returning to peace, because to rest is to remember, to breathe is to flow, and to live is to let the sea inside you move, in perfect rhythm with the moon above. If you could listen to the universe with more than your ears, if you could feel the hum beneath creation, you would hear a symphony made not of sound but of pull. Gravity is the music of motion, the conductor of existence. Every star, every moon, every drifting atom plays its part in this endless resonant performance. The moon and the sea are only one duet in that vast orchestra. Their rhythm is slow, steady, intimate. But across the cosmos, billions of other melodies rise and fall. Galaxies colliding in bass tones of motion. Planets circling suns in measured harmony. Black holes bending space into deep, inaudible chords. The universe, it turns out, is not silent. It sings in gravity's key. Einstein once said that gravity is not a force, but a curvature, a bending of the fabric of space-time. Imagine the universe as a great instrument, its strings made of invisible geometry. When something massive moves, it plucks those strings, sending ripples outward. Gravitational waves, literal vibrations of reality. We cannot hear them with our ears, but the universe feels them, and they travel forever, carrying news of motion from one end of existence to another. In 2015, for the first time, humans heard this cosmic music. Instruments buried deep beneath the Earth detected a faint vibration, 2 black holes merging 1 billion light-years away. The sound lasted less than a second, a whisper in the dark, yet it confirmed what poets and physicists alike have always believed, that even in silence, the universe sings. Our little world is part of that song. The Earth's spin, the moon's orbit, the sea's tides, all are notes in the cosmic composition. The pull that binds you to the ground is the same one that binds stars into spirals and galaxies into clusters. You, right now, are vibrating in the same field that moves the planets. Think of it. Every step you take, every drop of water that falls, every breath you draw sends a tiny ripple into the fabric of the cosmos. The effect is unimaginably small yet real. Nothing moves without moving something else. The dance of the moon and the sea is mirrored everywhere. In the swirl of Saturn's rings, in the faint drift of dust around distant suns, in the heartbeat of every living thing. Gravity is not just the architecture of the universe, it is its empathy, the way everything feels everything else. It connects what is far, it steadies what is fragile, it keeps all things in gentle communication. And like all great music, it requires both tension and release. The moon pulls, the earth resists, the ocean rises, then falls. Each motion, each pause, each quiet interval adds to the rhythm. Together they form a melody that has never stopped playing, a lullaby of creation, timeless and infinite. If you listen now in the quiet between thoughts, you might sense it, that faint hum beneath your awareness. It is the same vibration that holds galaxies together. It passes through the floor beneath you, through your bones, through the space between atoms. That is the symphony of gravity, a soundless chorus that says, you are not separate. You are part of the score, a note written in motion, a thread in the universe's song of connection. And as long as the moon circles, as long as tides move, as long as hearts beat, the symphony continues, gentle, eternal, and always in flow. Everything that exists moves, even what seems still. The mountains, the air, the stars, is in quiet motion. Electrons orbit, planets turn, galaxies drift through the dark. The cosmos is a river with no banks, flowing endlessly through itself, and within that current we too are carried, small, luminous, temporary but never apart. The moon and the sea remind us of this truth better than anything else. Their dance is the universe made visible, a cycle without end, a rhythm that never breaks. The water rises, the water falls, and somewhere between those movements time is born. That's what flow really is. Not a rushing torrent, but the soft continuity between moments, the invisible thread that connects everything that has been, is, and will be. The moon doesn't resist her orbit. The sea doesn't resent its pull. They simply move, each yielding to the other's gravity, each shaping the other through patience. It's a lesson written across the sky and repeated on every shore, that peace doesn't come from stillness, but from acceptance, from learning to move in rhythm with what is larger than ourselves. We humans, bound to clocks and endings, often forget that nothing in the universe truly stops. When we sleep, when we rest, even when we feel lost, we are still flowing, part of a current that began before us and will continue long after. Our lives, like the tides, are not linear journeys, but loops of return. Each sunrise is a high tide of light, each nightfall a gentle ebb. Even memory and forgetting are part of that motion, the mind's own rhythm of holding and releasing. Everything flows. Energy becomes matter, matter becomes motion, motion becomes light, and light returns to darkness to begin again. It is not a circle but a spiral, always moving forward, always carrying echoes of what came before. The ocean knows this. So does the moon. And somewhere deep within, so do we. When you breathe in now, imagine that you are drawing in starlight, moonlight, tide, all the universe's motion passing through you. When you breathe out, imagine that you are returning it, your own rhythm adding to the whole. You are not a fixed point. You're a wave in time, a brief shimmer in the long unfolding of existence. And though we often measure life by beginnings and endings, the truth is softer. There are no true edges in the cosmos, only transitions. Death becomes wind, thought becomes echo, water becomes sky. The same atoms that once shimmered in the ocean now beat within your heart, and one day they will drift outward again to join the stars. So when you watch the tide, or the moon rising quietly above it, know that you are seeing forever in motion. The universe breathes through those waves, calm, unhurried, infinite. You are part of that breath. You have always been, and as the tide recedes into the dark, as the moon continues her eternal orbit, the message remains, simple, certain, gentle, everything flows. Sleep in that motion.